Hello and welcome. Out of all the stories to come out of Carlton this year, there is none more intriguing than Sam Walsh's. Walsh missed the first 5 weeks of this AFL season after winning the Gary Ayres Medal in his maiden final series appearance. This season has seemed to not be as profound for impact as the season's worn on, or has it? In today's analysis, given Port Adelaide have afforded me an opportunity to preview a final series game involving the Blues, I'll be looking back on Sam Walsh's recent performance against St Kilda, some of his earlier season form, and his past final series in 2023 to understand how we see the best of Sam Walsh in the final series. Drop a like on the video and subscribe to the show if you'd like to tune in next week for another Carlton analysis piece. Enjoy the video. When we think about Sam Walsh's elite best, what do we think of? For me, it's break away from stoppage. It's being repeatedly involved in handball chains. But I think another part of Sam Walsh's game has been swept under the rug as the strongest part of his game has taken the back seat. Sam Walsh is having a career best year in a number of categories that aren't as glamorous, yet highlight the more contested side of the game. He's practically top 5 in the league for tackles, 30 clear of the next best season where he played every single match. He's nearly matched clearances numbers in 3 less games compared with that season as well. And this strongly aligns with what he achieved on the weekend, even if it's not the most glamorous work in the world. Sam Walsh sat atop the rankings in the third quarter for tackles and pressure acts, which interestingly correlated with Paddy Cripps's stellar third quarter, as the Blues built up a higher stoppage and contested game. This, of course, Cripps thrived off of, and this is something Carlton may need to see from Sam Walsh in the final series. But back to Walsh's elite best, and if we're talking about what benefits the team, score involvements, meters gained, and inside 50s are quite strongly linked together to what Walshy provides at his elite best. Run and gun for some of Carlton's most important dynamic play. Look at those stats and you'll see the higher those numbers are, the higher the volume of wins there are. And this applies to last year's numbers as well. In the final series, territory is a huge element of the grind that is finals games, and Walshy was a major part of that as his stocks soared. Don't get me wrong, I think context is really important. Carlton's injury list in the front half of the ground hasn't been particularly accommodating in more recent times, and I think a cleaner slate there in the back end of last year aided these numbers a fair deal. Opponent strength can also play a part, but that's not the entire picture. When you look at Sam Walsh's positioning without the ball, he plants himself at the 50-meter arcs generally. That way, when Carlton need to springboard forward, he's in the most damaging part of the ground. That way, when Carlton need to lock the ball in their forward half, he's a major asset as he has more access to those wing contests to keep it inside. He can offer his services around the ground and they can get it back inside 50. This is of great benefit to Walsh, but I don't think that's been maximized enough in recent times, and it's because of Carlton's drop-off in a number of key areas. Carlton's slower and less expansive play, for whatever reason, has condensed the game into a closer proximity. Of course, for Sam Walsh, this is the last thing you need. No run and gun down the middle and less isolation of contests, aspects Walsh thrives off of, yet has been more starved of. The lowering of forward 50 tackles reflects a lowering of pressure and a higher concession of scores, which also doesn't help for Walsh, given that forward half football he feeds off of, as we've said. Look, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Walsh contest-wise. Finals footy is contested, so this bodes well for him. But of course, it's that balance we're longing for with that outside game. Let's have a look at the kinds of ways Walshy needs to collect possessions for that to resurface. Here, you see Walsh stationed in the front half, despite Brisbane earning the right for possession. At this point, Brisbane are trying to obviously get free from Carlton players So when the turnover is created by the Blues, that distance Brisbane wanted to get freedom, that's now giving players like Walsh freedom. And look at the luxury afforded for Sam Walsh to get the forward 50 entry, hitting the hotspot. And if you remember, Carlton's pressure was through the roof to start this game. Brisbane could not get it out of their back half. And on countless occasions, Walsh gets involved in that 50 to 70 meter range with a kick, or a little bit higher up the ground with a handball as a part of the chain. That means he doesn't need to particularly alter his disposal under pressure or distort his body on a kick, which generally kills his efficiency. As a result, Walsh's inside 50s and score involvements were massively boosted. You've got another clear example here in the Saints game, where Lewis Young's smother is massive as it opens up the entire ground and has Carlton well advantaged to ping that ball back inside 50. Imagine with Sam Walsh situated here, how much he could cook with the extra men and all this space, given Hollands is set to switch. It's paradise. Instead, Hollands takes far too long and Carlton go on to concede a goal up the other end. A missed opportunity which would have given Walsh a chance to capture his best for a brief moment. Here's another example where Walsh lining the arc means Carlton can handball their way back towards him from a deep forward 50 stoppage. So he can then survey the 50 with a fair amount of time and space to do kicks such as these. I guess that's another solid outcome that can be extracted from adopting this positioning. But that too is a byproduct of that forward half football Carlton want to play, which we see here. Here's another example from the Giants game earlier this year. Walsh starts working back from the 50 meter arc after the Giants take an intercept grab. When the Giants overshoot the kick, Carlton have a far better structure to work the ball back inside 50. And because of how contactable this contest is, given where Walsh started, he can get involved. He doesn't collect a possession for about 20 meters of forward run, but he serves as crucial relief to deliver that final kick inside 50 where Charlie Curnow takes the grab. And here as well, which really is helped by the 261 pressure rating, which indicates that opportunities to lock the footy in the forward half will be plentiful. Walsh is about 60 to 65 meters out from goal, making the wing contest reachable. He gets across, other Blues get across, and given these Giants are out of position and have lost the contest, it creates one-on-ones in space, and Walsh's drive is possible with all this space, as we've mentioned. Ultimately, he's a part of a chain to get it inside 50 for another Carlton goal. This is another example where, with Walshy remaining a kick behind the footy and the pressure coming after a shocking error, results in Walshy straight lining it to get a 1-2 and kick it long inside 50. The end product was an issue on the kick, and there's countless examples of that in this game specifically. Almost like that's the same problem he's having this year. No one bat an eyelid for this game though, interestingly enough. So here's what happens on the other end of the field. As you can see, when Brisbane rebound it into their forward 50, he's quite central and at the 50 meter line. So when Carlton link their way out, Walsh has got great scope with where he can kick the ball, and that has him a strong part of this transition sequence. You'll see Walsh again off the back line, ready to be instrumental in this Carlton attack the minute the ball goes down the middle. Walsh has that perfect platform to run onto what's ahead of him and get that handball receive. I think St Kilda do a pretty good job of cramming the corridor where Walsh wants to attack through, and so a handball chain is going to be quite difficult to achieve here. I do feel as if where Walsh thrived last year at times was his composure, and I think this mental side has fallen away a bit. A handball to Pitto for a 1-2, maybe a little bit of belief in his own ability to sidestep either side to free himself up, or get a handball away and follow on to continue his involvement. That could have been another strategy. Instead, it's a very under duress type kick. I think the other thing that aids Sam Walsh's success is his movement at stoppage when he doesn't have the ball. Look no further than the potential results of this play if advantage was paid. If he's moving through the stoppage from back to front and gets a handball receive or picks up the crumbs, with others having drawn men and done the dirty work, that's when you're getting the drive that he probably seeks with attention taken off of him. I'd be interested to see how many first possessions Walshy has gotten at stoppages this year compared to seasons gone by. Unfortunately, I don't have access to this stat, but a higher amount would make sense for the higher clearance and ground ball gets numbers with lower meterage from his disposals. He can't be moving off the ball if he has the ball, and there's very few ruckmen that can provide such silver service that allows players to run through the stoppage and collect the first possession. From the eye test, it feels there's a lower frequency of Walshy handball receives at stoppages. Perhaps there's a role change? Compared to last season, there's a significantly higher attendance at centre bounces, which potentially shifts his responsibility in contest. Not that I know better, but I'd advise a bit of adjustment in this regard at contest to get the bulkier bodies first possession so they can feed players like Walsh on the outskirts. When you see Sam Walsh at his most ineffective, it's when he's in isolation on the back of stoppage. He has a knack of doing these highly ineffective kicks and equally rash handballs, and it's pretty crap for retaining possession, in turn affecting his ability to go from contest to contest with actual impact. It's important that if he is on the back of stoppage, he's got bailout options flanking the contest or further back. This ensures Walshy isn't stationary or flat-footed and easy to contain. Sometimes he'll start front of the contest and burst through to feed these extra numbers, creating a higher percentage kicking opportunity, with Walsh able to start preempting where that ball's headed before it's even kicked. It's that sort of mechanism which allowed Sam Walsh to kick crucial goals in the final series. Keeping Walsh away from his deficiencies will be key. This is the kind of thing I'm alluding to, even though it's not Walsh giving off the handball. Carlton have the structure to just keep retreating until there's someone facing forward, not under pressure that can kick out to where Walsh is peeling off towards. And you see the effect. I mean, look at the space for Cripps and Walsh. As we've seen, if that ball keeps progressing forward with those contest wins and freed up numbers, players like Walsh can filter through with the straight line run and continue his involvement into the 50, which here results in a goal. Putting it all together, take an example like this to start the last quarter. This is exactly what you need from him. Cripps feeds Walsh, who makes the run without the ball. His handball is linear to the halfback flanker on the back of the centre square. Even though he's unsuspecting for another handball receive, that running pattern is similar to the preempting thing we've mentioned. And he follows up now running straight forward towards Carlton's goal. And he's got that momentum to push on to the next contest, which he gets to just as the umpire deems it to warrant a ball up. Completely unrelated to what we've discussed, there's some interesting moments from the closing stages of the Saints game that involve Walsh. There's a bit of foreshadowing earlier in the quarter, and look, every once in a while a player will separate from their opponent, especially in the modern game where defensive zones mean you aren't attached to a specific player at all times. But tightening that up will be beneficial in a final series where small margins matter. So it's Sam Walsh on Hunter Clark, and that little bit of space Walsh gives corridor side as he closes in on the ball carrier provides a forward 50 entry. Fast forward to the Kemp miss in the dying stages. Walsh assumes responsibility on Zach Jones, but does he really? That ball spills out, and it's Zach Jones working through the congestion to free up Wanganeen Millera, who subjects Carlton to his dash, and that ball doesn't leave St Kilda's attacking half until after the devastation. Just emphasizing the importance of tightening that up, even more so coming up to September. Now, I found St Kilda's tactics fascinating to close this one out, pertaining to Walsh's positioning. On the previous sequence, Sam Walsh sat as a sweeper to stop this exact kind of run, but Hunter Clark is sitting a little bit deeper to almost try and equalize Carlton's spare on the back of the stoppage. But it's the following boundary throw-in stoppage which has Hunter Clark used a little bit differently. When that ball gets thrown in, Hunter Clark has pushed forward, completely detaching Sam Walsh from the most important stoppages of the game. It's not like he can leave Clark open 15 meters out from goal. And so instead of Walshy maybe contributing to a little bit more disruption and bringing another matchup in for congestion, St Kilda leveraged themselves given the situation because they had to attack, of course. And Walshy's contribution is stepping over the footy, which exposes Carlton to the open space that St Kilda are set up to utilise. There's no guarantees, but it could have been a difference maker had Walshy been in that final stoppage for his contested presence all game. So overall, I don't think there's vast changes that Sam Walsh needs to make heading into the final series. Far more grueling contests feeds into what Sam Walsh has offered this year on the contested side. However, when we dumb it down, Walsh's assertive attacking play correlates with Carlton's success. If Carlton can play in a fashion which enables Walsh's quality outside of stoppages to take centre stage, that could force Brisbane into pressing the panic button. Anyway, according to you, what is Sam Walsh missing? Is there another method I haven't mentioned which could assist Sam Walsh? Or is contested Sam Walsh the new normal? Thanks for tuning in. We're back here next week for what I yet again hope isn't the last time for 2024. But until then, stay safe, have a good one. Bye for now.